Oh man. Have you ever spoken to this kind of crowd before? It's scary when there are so many of you and it's dark and you're looking at me. And anyway, I'm here. I have 12 minutes to try and show you how we can make 1 billion people, including everyone in the audience, and hopefully everyone in Mexico, happy. So happiness is, in my view, one of the biggest problems facing humanity today, or unhappiness if you want. We are, they say that 1 of every 4 people in the Western world is clinically depressed. Teen suicide is at an all-time high. Suicide is at an all-time high. The antidepressant industry is now $19 billion. And so maybe we need to start working on this problem. To do that, I need to tell you 2 stories. One is a little sad, and the other is a little scary. So I'll start with the scary one. I call that the new superhero. Imagine if a new alien being is coming to Earth today, and that this new alien being will have superpowers that allow it to do anything that it wants. And those superpowers can make this alien being either very good to humanity, protects and serves and makes everything better, or it can become a supervillain, and a supervillain that we cannot prevent from doing whatever evil it wants to do. I think you would agree that the most crucial moment at which the fate of humanity is decided is when that rocket hits the Earth, when that alien arrives, and what kind of parents will find that alien and raise it. In the well-known story of Superman, this alien is found by Jonathan and Martha Kent, who are wonderful parents who teach that alien how to have the moral value set to do good for humanity. And so out of that comes Superman. Now imagine if the parents that picked Superman up were greedy and violent and aggressive and self-centered. What kind of superhero would we find? Would it be possible that we end up with a superhero that looks a little like this? Now, there are many, many stories where we want this real Superman. Here's the interesting thing. This alien being that we have been waiting for to fix all of the problems of humanity is already here. This alien being is what David was just talking about. It's called artificial intelligence. While I agree with David that we may be a little far away from having computers being smarter than all of us, I don't think it's going to be that far. There are computers today that are the world champion in Go, the world champion in chess, the world champion in Jeopardy. The best drivers on Earth are self-driving cars that have a much, much, much lower accident rate than humans. Most of the security that you see in, security in airports and police forces and so on are based on artificial intelligence and optical recognition and vision recognition. There are specific intelligent tasks that those computers are doing that are much smarter than than all of us, in specific tasks. General intelligence, to have a computer that's smarter than all of us, is predicted to be by 2029 by some people who predict the future, like Ray Kurzweil, and they say that by the year 2049, this is 30 years away from today, computers will be 1 billion times smarter than we are. Now, to put this in perspective, the comparison between the intelligence of a computer to a human at that time would be comparable to the intelligence of Einstein compared to a fly. That's how smart we will be in front of those computers. Now, think about this for a minute, because at the end, can you hear me? Yeah, because at the end of the day, what we really care about is that those computers make the right choices and become Superman, so that they save us instead of deciding to work against us. Now, a lot of people will say, oh, but computers will not have emotions, they will not have values. They already do. They're motivated by reward and by punishment today as we program them. And today, if we cannot find a way to contain those computers, we may end up in a very, very scary place. So how do we contain them? Some people will say, build firewalls or program them differently, or, some people will say maybe we should just have government regulation, and everyone knows that the smartest hacker in the room will always hack through all of this. So how do we contain them? I worked at Google for 12 years. The last 5 of them was at Google X, the advanced innovation lab of Google. And I will tell you, we cannot control those machines through programming. We cannot control them through firewalls. So how do we contain them? I left Google in March, and I produced a video that's called 1 Billion Happy that I want you to see a part of, just to understand what we can do. Oops, sorry. So there is a bit of a delay. Go back. Yes. Wait, it's nice animations, isn't it? Look at this. One more animation, and here is the video. If it goes, it will. And one more. Yay! Seriously? In 12 minutes? Okay. One more. You see me? I'm still happy. Yes? Yes?
How do we contain them? We don't contain them at all. The best way to raise wonderful children is to be a wonderful parent. It's not the inventor of the technology that's going to set the tone going forward. It's the technology itself that's going to use the knowledge, the values that we communicate to it, to develop its own intelligence. How are those machines learning? They're looking at all of the knowledge that's out there in the world, and they're building patterns from that. Just like an 18-month-old infant. You remember when we gave our children those little boxes that had different patterns and shapes? That's the way computers are learning today. We basically write algorithms that allow computers to understand those patterns, and then we get them to try and try and try, and through pattern recognition, through billions of observations, they learn. They're learning by observing. And what are they observing? They're observing a world that's full of greed, disregard for other species, violence, ego, showing off. The only way to get those machines to be not only intelligent, but to also have the right value set, is that we start to portray that right value set today. The problem is unhappiness. Unhappiness has never been higher. 1 of every 4 people in the world today is clinically depressed. Teen suicide is at an all-time high. Humanity has never had a better life. Our life expectancy is better, our quality of life is better, but we've never been unhappier. My personal moonshot is about making 1 billion people happy. Billion with a B. Your happiness is your priority. Invest in your happiness and then find the compassion in you to share it. Pay it forward. Tell others. If every one of us tells 2 people who tell 2 people who tell 2 people, that is the absolute design of an exponential function. I'm going to tell the world that my priority is to be happy, and I'm going to have the compassion inside me to make others happy. This 1 billion happy mission is at the most pivotal time of humanity, because those machines are going to be smarter than we are, and they will be absorbing what we are putting out there. I'm leaving Google, and I'm committing the rest of my life and my resources to this mission. If there are 1 billion of us telling the world that there is a better way to live, we will change the world forever.
Thank you. Thank you. So the idea of 1 billion happy, is that crazy? Not at all. I can reach 1 billion people. I guarantee you, I've done that 1 million times at Google. Everything in the internet world is in billions. But can we reach them with the right message? And that's the other story that's a little bit sad. I call that other story my true superhero, if it animates. Oh, there we are. This is my son Ali. Ali is my son, as I always say, he's my son, the son that lit my life. And Ali was born at when I was very young, so between him and Aya, we had a lot of fun together. We played a lot together, we played music together, we had an incredible relationship, we're still best friends. And between us, I went to my children very often, and they were very wise. Ali was so wise that by age 16, I would tell the world, when I grow up, I want to be like Ali. Now, Ali taught me a lot about happiness, because while he was always happy, I wasn't. Like most of us, I started to go into the treadmill, and as a young executive, I was extremely successful, but extremely depressed. And I tried to find my way out of unhappiness by doing it differently. I tried to do it like an engineer, because that's the way my brain works. I took what I learned, I went back to my children, and they taught me what the heart is like. And together, we built a model that became our happiness model, a model that allowed me to be happy most of the time. My son Ali had a tattoo on his back that read, "The gravity of the battle means nothing to those at peace." This was the last thing I saw when he stood up on the operating table back in 2014. Basically the message was, "Papa, the gravity, the battle that you're going to go through is going to be very difficult. But if you find peace, you'll be fine." And you can imagine what happened. 4 hours later, the surgeon did 5 mistakes in a row. And within 4 hours, the son of my life, the pillar of my life, left. So you can imagine that any parent who loses a child, it's the hardest thing ever. We don't even have a word to describe it. But I did not break down and cry. I wouldn't tell you I was happy, but I was very, very peaceful. I found that peace that Ali was talking about. Somehow in my mind, when they say a life for a life, I didn't want to take revenge at the doctor. Instead, I wanted to give life instead of taking life. And in my view, to live unhappy is not to live at all. In my mind, the only thought I had was Ali's life was not worth a life. Ali's life was worth millions of lives. And so 17 days after Ali left, instead of closing my door to cry, I started to write. And 4.5 months later, the product of what I wrote was Solve for Happy, a book that launched in March 2017 and was signed in 31 languages around the world. It became a bestseller almost everywhere, and 93% of all readers rate it 4 or 5 stars and say that it changed their life. The book was just the content. The mission was 10 million happy. I went out there to try and make 10 million people around the world happy. And within 8 weeks, my videos started to go super viral around the internet. And within 8 weeks exactly, we had 100 million people who received the message, and tens of millions of them that actually started to take action to become happier. Now, I wish I could share with you today the model in detail. I believe that if we had an hour, I would actually manage to make you a lot happier. But unfortunately, because of the... Oh, by the way, we just launched in Mexico last week. But unfortunately, because of the limited, madness of our modern world and the limited time that we have, I only have 12 minutes. Actually, I'm over time already, and I'm still not able to animate. So, within 12 minutes, I cannot tell you this. So what I'll do instead is I'll give you a quick tip on how you can work on this, which is to remind you of the mission. Am I pointing in the wrong way? Okay. So the mission is very straightforward. The mission is 3 steps. Step number 1 is prioritize your happiness. Understand that unlike what they tell us in the modern world, happiness is your birthright. It's not okay to be unhappy. And happiness is actually the number 1 thing you should make your priority, and everything else will follow. Number 2 is just like fitness. If you invest in your happiness, you will find happiness. Okay? It's not as complicated as spiritual teachings make it. It really is so predictable that it can be summarized in an engineering model. Okay? If you invest an hour a day, 4 to 5 times a week, like going to the gym, you will find happiness. Read the book, read other books, watch videos, be with people that are happy. And then when you get there, this is what the mission is all about. Tell others. If each of us who find happiness will tell 2 people, who will tell 2 people, who will tell 2 people, we will get to 1 billion happy in 5 years. With that, I can only leave you with the resources once the slide animates. 1billionhappy.org is where you can sign up for the mission to help us out. solveforhappy.com will have every content, every part of the content that I have ever created is available for free if you don't like reading. Just make this your priority. Don't go back to your life after the weekend and forget about it. And please send a happy wish to my son Ali, because he started it all and he truly was the kindest and the wisest man I have ever met. Thank you.